Welcome back to SCVTV's Community Corner. I'm Luke Landress, a senior from Valencia High School.
And I'm Hrishab Krishna, a junior at Castaic High School. And this show is all about you, Santa Clarita.
And we've got a great mini episode lined up for you today. We're taking a quick rewind through Season 6.
And revisiting a few segments that highlight safety, communication, technology, and community support.
First up, from episode 25, we sat down with Captain Brandon Barclay from the Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff Station. He shared what stepping into his new role means and how he hopes to strengthen local connection and safety.
Then, we head to episode 7, where City of Santa Clarita Communications Specialist Gabriela Martinez walked us through the city's efforts to better engage Spanish-speaking residents and make important information more accessible.
After that, we revisit episode 25, where leaders from the William S. Hart Union High School District, including Principal Jason Dotremont and 2024 Teacher of the Year Casey Cuney, gave us a look inside the district's new AI task force and how they're navigating the fast-changing world of artificial intelligence in education.
And finally, from episode 1, we take a look at animal safety during emergencies with Director of LA County Animal Care and Control, Marcia Maeda, who shared tips for keeping pets safe and how her agency safely evacuated animals during recent wildfires.
Let's check it out.
Welcome back to SCVTV's Community Corner. The Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff Station has a brand new captain, and we're honored to have him here today to tell us about his new role and what he'd like to bring to the community.
Captain Brandon Barclay brings with him nearly 2 decades of law enforcement experience with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department to his new post. Captain Barclay, it's great to have you on the show today.
Well, it's an honor to be here, and thank you for the gracious invite.
Of course, and it's really important. The city is, it's a big deal for you to come in and be this. I know that you have been with Santa Clarita for the last few years, but can you give it a little background for people who don't know who you are to kind of fill them in a little bit about your experience?
Yeah, absolutely, and thank you for the opportunity. So I do bring nearly 2 decades of law enforcement. I've worked Palmdale, Lancaster, Santa Clarita. Santa Clarita is a sergeant here, ran a summer team back in 2015, and then worked there for about 2 years as a field sergeant, and then transitioned to a mental health evaluation team sergeant, where I supervise the division, which is from Malibu to Lancaster, so 5 stations for mental health. Mental health wasn't always my passion, but I found there was an opportunity to help a lot of folks in the community with mental health. Initially, when you're a young deputy, it's the exotic arrest, the guns, the drugs, and the pursuits and things, and then you realize you can actually impact folks in the mental health community. I was a detective as well, crisis negotiator, and I look forward to sharing my experience not only with the community, but also with my amazing staff that we have at Santa Clarita, and the deputies truly care about the community.
And Santa Clarita is always ranked as one of the safest cities in the nation, and that's in no small part thanks to you and our deputies that you mentioned. Coming into this role, how do you want to maintain that reputation and keep Santa Clarita known as that?
You know, it's such a tremendous reputation to have, to be one of the safest metropolitan areas, not only in the state, but in the nation. You know, we have about 310,000 people that live here. And just to maintain the trajectory of the safety and a great place to raise families, the great schools, the parks, the tremendous job the cities does, and then that collaboration that they have with the Sheriff's Department and other local nonprofits, it's just fantastic. My commitment is to public safety. It definitely is, whether it's burglary, curfew issues, e-motorcycles, these type things. We're looking to make an impact.
Homelessness is an issue throughout California, especially in Southern California, and in Santa Clarita we're not immune to that either. What is your approach to the homeless outreach?
Yeah, so great question. According to the last count by LASA, which is the Los Angeles Homeless Service Authority, the count in Los Angeles County was 72,308 individuals that are homeless. Wow. We are the 3rd largest city in LA, so it's LA City, Long Beach, and then Santa Clarita, as we mentioned. According to the last point in time count, which was conducted on or about February, and the report was released in July, we have 132 homeless that live in Santa Clarita, and this is a count which has a mild margin of error, plus or minus. They see a tent, they count it as, they call it a dwelling multiplier type thing, where they didn't actually count folks. So we have about 132 folks that are homeless here or experiencing homelessness. Half of those are sheltered and half of those are unsheltered. When I say sheltered, I mean RVs, I mean makeshift buildings, tents, these type things. So homelessness is something that's very important to address. As you know, sometimes there's a synergistic effect. Sometimes people have drug addiction. Sometimes there's mental health issues and these type things. And our goal is to offer these folks services to where they can get the help they need, and instead of incarceration. As you know, our jail population, we have about 13,500 inmates, and 5,000 of them are mentally ill. And not to say that all persons experiencing homelessness are mentally ill, but our goal is to keep them from incarceration and get them programs, whether it's working with local nonprofits like Bridge to Home and other things. So great question, and we addressed it. We just had these last rains. Our team, our crime prevention unit, was out there to offer them services and to ensure their safety to where they can get out of the wash. As you know, we have the Santa Clara, not the Santa Clarita, the Santa Clara. Everybody gets it confused. We wanted to make sure that they had resources to get out of there and be safe. So.
One of the big concerns that we see on social media, and people are talking about it around town, is all these darn kids on e-bikes and e-motorcycles. What is allowed, what's not allowed, and what can you guys do about it?
Yeah, so great question. And as a matter of fact, we just had our virtual deputy program come up, and we've had calls for service there. So it is a very contentious issue. I heard about it at City Council, and let's talk about it. Let's talk about e-motorcycles, and let's talk about e-bikes, okay? So e-bikes, class 1, 2, and 3. Class 1 and 2 go up to 20 miles an hour. Class 1 is pedal assisted. Class 2 is pedal assisted and throttle assisted. And Class 3 goes up to 28 miles per hour and typically requires a speedometer. Okay, e-motorcycles, oh my. Now these are your expensive $4,000 Sauron type bikes, which are actually classified as a motorcycle. Now these things can go up to 70 miles an hour, which means that it requires an M1 driver's license, right? So you can drive a motorcycle. It requires a helmet. And all the rules of the road apply to an e-motorcycle. Now, the e-bikes, these things are 28 miles an hour, and one of our complaints that we get is folks are riding on the paseos and they're driving fast, and I'm walking with my stroller, I'm going for a jog, I had my headphones in, and the kids zip by me, and it's unsafe. Well, e-bikes are allowed on the paseos. They are allowed there. And bicycles are actually allowed on the sidewalk.
And that's by state law?
Yes.
That's by state law?
Yes. So as a young proactive deputy, before it was state law, I used to go out and enforce it. And then, and now, I believe it's 21633 penal code or vehicle code. You know, I don't want to give you the whole nomenclature of the vehicle code, but I do recall enforcing it, but now we don't. So you're allowed to ride a bike on the sidewalk, but we do encourage safety first, right? So if you're under 18, make sure you have your helmet. And my message to you, if you're a young person on the paseo, is just have mutual respect, slow it down, have self-awareness, and respect goes a long way.
And so what you're saying, just to be clear, because whether it's an e-bike or just a regular pedaled bike, they are allowed on sidewalks.
Yes.
Both of those are allowed on sidewalks.
Yes.
So they're going to be sharing the pavement, if you will, the sidewalk pavement, with pedestrians walking, whether it's on a bridge, through the paseos, or wherever it might be.
Yes, and you know, it's about finding the balance too, because let's be honest, one of the appealing things of Santa Clarita is the open areas and the trails, and people want their kids to have activities. And they actually, a lot of parents would rather have their kid on a bike than playing Xbox or addicted to the iPad. Right. Go out and ride your bike and go look at our 40 parks that we showcase. Matter of fact, Hart Park, our 40th park, I love that, you know. Great stuff.
Thanks for that.
Yeah. You know, well, it's showcased well in the state of the city, and I enjoyed that program. But yeah, so it's about finding balance, and we're working strategically with the city. It's about prevention, education, and enforcement. We're not the big bad cops that are coming here and trying to give your kids tickets and take their Sauron away. But what we are trying to do is prevent the issues, educate the public on what the rules are, and then, if it comes to it, enforcement. We will enforce. Our deputies will do their job. And occasionally we'll get a complaint about towing an e-motorcycle, and then we have to educate them on the law and things. And I like to think we have a great relationship with the community, and they have an opportunity to communicate with us and air out their grievances, and we welcome that feedback.
Well, and something else that has come up with the kids lately is the curfew. And yeah. I know that some people are saying, well, what if my kid's studying until 10 o'clock? That's not what's going on here. Tell us the real deal on the curfew and what you guys have done.
Thank you so much for bringing that up, because it did come up. Hey, I was studying late, and I was at Taco Bell at 10 p.m., and we're not going after the folks that were studying and going through the drive-thru to get something to eat, okay? What we are is when a bunch of kids are congregating, particularly at a local park, Pacific Crest Park, or at our local In and Out, I call it the Junction, but it's Bouquet and Soledad. And where these businesses are having to close down because there's 150 and 200 kids, and kids are doing wheelies on their e-bikes, and the business, again, has to close down, or an assault occurs. You guys may have seen it. It was in the local Signal, and they did a great job, and KHTS did a great job reporting it, where a kid took a bottle to the back of another kid's head. And this is an issue. It's not only nefarious activity, but there's other issues like drinking, vaping, and you're out. Nothing good is going to come after 10 o'clock. And look, I played high school football. I played college football. I know you want to go out and you want to engage in these, you know, after the Valencia high school game or the Saugus high school game, you want to go hang out. But you got to do it safely and responsibly. And parents, please have some buy-in on your kids, know where they are, because we don't want them to get hurt. We don't. So.
As you can see, obviously, Halloween, it's coming up on Friday.
A little spooky in here.
A little spooky in here, isn't it? Yeah, they did a great job. They did a great job. Let's talk about Halloween coming up. What tips would you give to parents, especially young parents who with new kids that are going out into the streets, and to those who aren't going trick-or-treating but are still driving around? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, you know, ultimately, safely have a highly visible costume. You know, what we don't want is you be in a poorly lit area and then you get hit by a vehicle or an e-motorcycle. We just discussed that. We don't want that. Make sure that it may sound cliche, but parents inspect the candy. When you go get candy, please, choking hazards, and just take a look at it. Just take a double check, a look at it. Go in groups for safety, and then also have a level of parental supervision. And this includes the people that are going trick-or-treating. Now, if you're not going trick-or-treating and you're not handing out candy, I know it sounds like a no-brainer, but have your lights out, have your gate closed, and that should send a polite message, hey, we're not handing out candy this year. And I know it sounds simple and basic, and they're little bullet points, but if you take these copious tips, you may have a successful Halloween, because that's what our goal is, you know. We don't want to uptick in our robberies because people are stealing candy with masks, you know. So. And
it's okay to have a flashlight if you're a parent going out there with little Susie and little Jimmy, standing out in the street, got a flashlight just to make certain that people are aware that you're out there.
Absolutely. And you know, if you have your pets, you can have the neon glow sticks and things, and I encourage that. It's about safety. It's about, you know, it's an opportunity for a community to come together and you know, celebrate the fall season and things. So just safety is paramount.
What else are you celebrating this fall season?
So thank you for bringing that up. And Sheriff Luna has graciously authorized us to wear these on duty. So if I have hat hair,
I love that.
Go Dodgers. I believe they're landing in Toronto here shortly, or they have. And so this is within policy as long as the Dodgers are in the World Series. So thank you for that.
That's awesome.
And it's increased morale at the station. You got a lot of Dodger hats. So if you call for service, you may see a deputy wearing Dodger blue.
That's perfect.
I love that.
We are
so
LA.
much.
That's perfect. And if you're a Giants fan, too bad. We don't care. That doesn't matter. Brandon Barclay, the new captain of the Santa Clarita Sheriff's Station. Thank you so much for joining us. And please don't be a stranger. We want to make certain you come on as often as you can, and we'll be talking about whatever's going on in Santa Clarita.
No, it's my absolute privilege, and I look forward to continuing to serve. So thank you for letting me showcase and speak with you guys.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to SCVTV's Community Corner. Did you know that according to the U.S. Census Bureau, about 28% of Santa Clarita's population is Hispanic?
That means a large part of our community may speak Spanish as their first language, and that number is only growing.
The City of Santa Clarita saw a need to better engage and inform Spanish-speaking residents.
Playing a big role in that is our bilingual communication specialist for the City of Santa Clarita, and she's here to share more with us.
Please welcome Gabby Martinez. Gabby, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me today.
It's always great to have you. Friend of the program. Been on before, been in this seat before.
That's right.
Gabby has. All right, so as the communication specialist for the City of Santa Clarita, what do you do?
I do a little bit of everything, but I mostly market our different programs and events for the different divisions. At this moment, I'm working closely with the Santa Clarita Public Library, promoting our One Story, One City month-long program, all the events for them. The mobile library, we're launching our very first mobile library, so I'm so excited about that. And also, our very first, well, not the very first, but our city store launching at City Hall. So a lot of exciting programs and events, and I'm helping with the marketing. along with other duties as well. But
Other duties as assigned, as we say at City Hall.
Yes.
yes.
So we want to get to know you, Gabby. Tell us all about you, your Spanish roots. Let's get personal.
I grew up in the city of Southgate, and my parents are Spanish speaking. Are from Mexico, and they were very hardcore. They're like, Gabby, you're going to learn Spanish. When you go to school, you'll learn English. When I went back to where my parents are from, I fell in love. That was it. My goal ever since I was 10 years old was I'm learning Spanish, I'm extending my vocabulary in Spanish, and I'm gonna be a Spanish girl. And my parents were like, oh, okay, they supported that. So every summer, winter, fall, they would take me over there. So I would have these long staycations where I completely engulfed myself in the culture, the language, the jargon, the everything. So since age 12, my whole entire world was in Spanish. My computer was in Spanish, my laptop was in Spanish, because my goal was to perfect my Spanish. I went to college in my second year. I said, I'm going to Mexico and I'm going to study in one of the most prestigious schools out there. And so I did. I did an exchange out there, and that just opened up my eyes. And I knew from living with my parents and seeing the struggles they had with, I would translate for them, fill out some of their paperwork, and I saw my friends also having that same struggle. I knew I had to do something about that. So propelled by that purpose, I continued on, and I knew when I started my career in communications that I wanted to continue helping my community. And so then I went on to NBC and Telemundo with that same purpose, and now I'm here with that same purpose, spreading the love.
Yes, so let's get into those details.
Yeah.
What are you doing specifically that is helping the city be able to communicate better with the Spanish-speaking residents?
Yeah, so our Spanish-speaking community is on social media. So what I've been doing is pushing out a lot of content on social media that resonates with them. And the one thing that I've noticed that we love as a community is connecting to our roots. So if they hear a song that their parents used to listen to, that their grandparents used to listen to, I play a lot with nostalgia. That always works for me. Some of the content that has done really good on our social media platforms has played with nostalgia. They love that. They absolutely love it. If they hear mariachi, if they hear cumbia, they hear merengue, for them it's like, they know, they speak my language, wow. Just recently for the One Story, One City campaign, I've been working closely with our community, and what I did was, the author is Latina, she's from El Ecuador, and in Ecuador they love cumbias. So, playing a little with that, I had a lot of our staff members dance cumbia, and I did a cute TikTok reel that went viral. The day of the event, we had more than 55 people at the author meet and greet, and so what I did was a series of videos that played with nostalgia, played with music, dancing, that spoke to my community, and it was just a bang. It was a bang.
So is the Spanish-speaking community, are they feeling that? What is the reaction you've gotten from them?
Oh, they love it. They're like, more of this. We love this. And to touch on that, when we had the recent fire, the Hughes fire, I noticed that they needed the communication from us. And so when I would push out content with the updates from the fire, we went from 600 followers on Instagram to 1,500 in 24 hours. So I'm seeing that they are consuming, they are there, they're connected. So it's just a matter of us engaging a little more and more, and we're doing that. So I'm very proud of us for that.
You know, you mentioned those TikTok reels that you like to make.
Yeah.
What's your favorite?
My favorite by far was the one that I recently worked on with the Santa Clarita Public Librarians. Actually, I had a lot of staff. Oh, Carrie also participated. We had a bunch of staff members, but I had them dance cumbia. Many of them had never danced cumbia, but they were shaking it. And the community appreciated to see, you know, like people from different backgrounds dancing to cumbia.
Did I actually dance? Was that what I did?
That's what you did.
Really?
And you did a great job. And they were like, wow. The next day at work, they were like, wow, Carrie,
I did have people coming up to me being like, look at your moves. I don't know if it's technically cumbia, but like, thank you.
A version of cumbia, but we loved it.
But your social media reels, and I've learned so much from Gabby because she has such an eye for this. Tell us about your vision and how you go out and you put some of those stories together, because they really are stories.
I absolutely love creating reels. For me, every reel is a story. So I'm in my head. I go to an event and I take 5 minutes and I walk around to look at my main characters. So I look to see like, who's my main character? All of a sudden I see a girl with a gorgeous gown with like a traditional Korean dress. I'm just like, boom, she's my main character. I go up to her, hey. Hey, amigos. And all of a sudden, I'm so excited. She's excited that I'm excited. She wants to participate. And boom, she's my main character. I tell her, I direct her, hey, we're going to go around this event today, and you're going to show us all the things here. And all of a sudden, I create a reel where you're following a main character. You're so engaged. You want to see what happens from beginning to end because this is stunning. You have a gorgeous girl with a gorgeous gown walking around this event. So for everything that I do, I try to make sure to like see what's happening. And I love the close-up shots. For me, it's like the little details. Like right now, I'm looking at all the stuff in the back. I'm like, ooh, that would be really good for real.
She's gonna make a reel of us.
You can make
We get to be main characters.
As long as she goes boom several times.
Yes,
that'd be
I
good.
love that.
Because I know you do that.
But the attention to details and bringing people to the story is so important. So those little details, when someone walks in, you don't notice this, but if you go ahead and focus on that and play with the little elements around you, you're bringing someone to the video and they're like, oh my God. And all of a sudden you feel the music because the music flows with whatever it is that we're showing. So I love that.
All right, well, let's get some more followers for you. Where can everybody go?
Yes.
Where can everybody go to be able to get more information about what you're doing for the Spanish-speaking community in Santa Clarita?
Of course. The Ciudad de Santa Clarita pages are on Instagram and Facebook at Ciudad de Santa Clarita. If you're having a hard time finding that, go directly to our Instagram, our City of Santa Clarita Instagram or Facebook, and you'll see the link right there. Click on it and follow us and show us some love.
Because you're showing them the love.
Oh yes, the love is in the air. Woo!
Gabriela Martinez, communication specialist for the city. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right, stick with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to SCVTV's Community Corner. There is no doubt the emergence of AI has transformed the way students are learning. While it does have its benefits, some educators say AI can do more harm than good.
That's why the William S. Hart Union High School District has created an AI task force to help strike the right balance between responsible AI usage and over-reliance on this emerging technology.
Joining us today to give us a glimpse into this new task force are Jason Dotremont, the principal of Hart High School, and Casey Cooney, the teacher at Valencia High School, who is also the 2024 California Teacher of the Year. Gentlemen, it's great to see you again.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for being here. It's really fantastic. Jason, I want to start with you because AI is obviously a very controversial subject. Tell us what prompted the Hart District to create an AI task force.
So the Hart District's always been on the cutting edge of technology and educational features for our students. And at the end of the day, this is what we are targeting, making sure our students are prepared for when they leave us in high school. Next semester, in the spring of 26, we'll be opening up something called Google Gemini, which is an AI feature through the Google platform that students will have the ability to use. We, as a Hart District, thought it would be best to make sure our teachers and our students will be prepared for this rollout. And so we created this task force with a lot of smarter people than I when it comes to AI and technology, that we would make sure that our staff and our students and our parents are informed about what we would do with AI.
And I'm so curious how it's already being used in the classroom, because it has so many functions and features, and I love using AI for so many different things, even just asking it random questions. But share a little bit more of how it's currently being used.
Well, I mean, that's pretty much Casey's wheelhouse here when it comes to AI in the classroom. But what we did as a task force before that use is created guidelines and some safeguards that we wanted our teachers to feel supported with, to make sure that they knew, or that students knew what or how to use it in the classroom. So I'm going to give Casey the opportunity to talk about some of the ways he uses it.
Yeah, so I'm using it quite often, directly, getting kids into it, teaching kids to use it as a thought partner, and to teaching them to use it as a skill to learn rather than something to cheat. So one example will be, just the other day we were working on a grammar divide parallelism. So I asked ChatGPT to make me a quick prompt that would create a parallelism tutor, where it would give them 3 wrong sentences, they'd have to correct them, and they would go through 4 rounds, and at the end it would give them a little score, and then they would, I'm not grading this is practice, but they're all engaged. I could even say, and make all of those sentences about Star Wars or the Marvel Universe or, whatever. So I can personalize it like that, which is incredible. Or we had a Socratic seminar recently, and so I would ask them a question, and then they had to handwrite their answer. I am doing more handwriting on paper than I have in years. And then once they had kind of their thoughts were done, then they had to open up the Chromebook, and they had to engage with the AI 3 times, back and forth, and then shut the Chromebooks, and then we talked. And it was the best and highest level of discourse I've ever seen on that Socratic seminar, because their thinking was more nuanced, because they had their little thought partner here. So I think of it more of like a framework, like human first, AI feedback, human finish, in that kind of way. So it's really a tool that we're helping to kind of amplify learning, boost critical thinking, and increase engagement in the classroom.
That's so interesting. I never would have thought of it like that.
No, it is interesting, and I'm really curious too, because our teachers, are all teachers embracing this? I mean, this is a new thing. It's a brand new kind of concept. You're obviously looking at it as using it as a thought partner. I thought those were 2 words that really stuck out at me. Are all the teachers also on board, and does it require more training for teachers?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think it's kind of split, 50-50. And I understand the hesitation 100%. And I think one of the reasons that hesitation is immediate is because the cheating is so bad. I've never seen cheating at this level. And so that's kind of a lot of teachers' first introduction to AI was just the cheating. But I think as I've been talking to a lot of teachers and showing them ways that we can use it to actually boost learning, like for instance, I have a prompt where the kids throw it in and then they upload their study guide, and then it'll quiz them 1 question at a time through their study guide, and anything they get wrong, it'll create little mini lessons. And I had a mom email me that her daughter got 100% on the AP Chem midterm, and she couldn't believe it because she thought she was doing really bad in the class. And she said, "How'd you do that?" And she said, "Well, Mr. CUNY taught us how to turn it into a quizzing machine." So I think as more and more teachers hear that, they start to open their minds to it. But I understand their hesitation. But there is a thing called AI literacy, which is learning how to use it, because it is different. Google brought us the age of search, but really ChatGPT's brought us this new age, which is ask and discuss. And that is a dynamic process that, I even find myself, the other day I was trying to show the kids something and I was on Google and I couldn't find it, and I'm scrolling and I'm clicking on, and then I realized, why am I not just going to ChatGPT? And then boom, it pulled up 5 websites for me and then completely explained it for me. But so a lot of it's a behavioral shift to kind of start thinking about using it more in that way.
So the teachers were a little hesitant. How about the students? Are they all in on this?
We went to some seminars. OpenAI put some on. Our district allowed us to go to those. We learned that, and if parents don't know this, they need to be aware of this, over 70%, and probably higher now, 70% of teenagers are using artificial intelligence some way, shape, or form. To them, it might be foreign to us in an older generation, but for them, it's second nature. That's what they've grown up on with technology and smartphones, and now they're using this rampantly.
Although I am noticing that kids are really good at copy and pasting out of it. But when you ask them to engage with it or question back and forth with it, I do see the gears of like molasses in there. And because I think we assume as teenagers they're great with tech, but AI is so different, And I was over a kid's shoulder the other day, and I said, "What's going on?" And he's like, "I don't get it." I'm like, "Well, what don't you get?" But see, that is such a level of engagement that I don't think they're getting in a lot of their schooling, which is a lot of sitting, taking a test kind of thing. And when you learn with AI, it is a very engaging process. But why this? How come that? Well, what does that mean? Well, what does it mean if I do it this way? What are the implications of this? And so I think I feel it's a moral imperative, actually, to teach kids to engage with it and learn to use it, because I think it's their future. But I also think it can give them superpowers. I think that, I've got those kids, I care about them, and I feel like if I teach them how to use it, I know they're going to be able to do things that they would never be able to do without it. So I try to talk a lot about it as it's a partner. I think a lot of people hear AI, they think, oh, AI only? No, it's always they're a little partner on the side with me, and together we can go to greater heights.
It sounds like what you're saying is it can enhance the learning for kids. But I want to go back on something that you kind of touched on just a second ago, Casey, and that was cheating. And you said that's become a big deal. And you were talking about it too, that 70%, probably more, are using AI in some way. How do you combat the cheating? How do you recognize it? Can you recognize it? Is it getting so good that maybe it's just too difficult to figure out?
Well, we set up those guidelines we talked about for our teachers. Something the AI task force came up with was a green, yellow, or red light activity. So we have these little figures. They look like robots. They're green, yellow, and red. And teachers are able to use those in their classrooms for assignments or for projects. And the red light activity would be there's no AI use at all. The yellow would be let's partner with AI, research a little bit, use that as a thought partner, as Casey mentioned. The green is you can have all you want. But now, as a teacher or educator, and even the student in groups, needs to talk about why using AI was so important, what they learned from it. So that's the assignment, not necessarily the use of AI. So those are some things that, again, we're asking parents to look and partner with us to say, hey, you know, are you able to use that on this assignment for this classroom? That hopefully will curtail some of that cheating aspects that's going on, because if parents and teachers and now students are understanding what could be happening with the AI use, we're going to be in a better spot at the end of the day.
Yeah, and as a teacher, anything I send home, I have to assume will be AI'd. So that is changing everything. I mean, homework is, but a lot of the problems we're seeing with AI in education were just kind of existing problems with education, right? Like the 20-page homework packet was never really a good idea. So now that kids are cheating on that, it's like, well, that wasn't very equitable or pedagogical anyway. So I think, but it is going to have to change a lot. I do think, though, that parents could help so much in terms of, you don't understand that? Well, pull up ChatGPT and have a conversation with it. But also, why are you copying and pasting? At a certain point, you're going to take the SAT. At a certain point, you're going to be in a college class doing the Blue Book, and it's going to show up. But if you learn to use this, almost nothing you can do. As teachers, though, I'm expecting more. Like I told them the other day recently, they were having to create like a presentation, and I said, the rubric is expecting that it's you, a graphic designer, a tech support person for Canva, and an expert on Norse mythology. Like they all have to be involved in you creating this, otherwise it's not going to do very well on the rubric. But because of that, I am seeing incredible work that the kids are producing, because they have this, genius little partner on the side helping them along the way. It's not always right, by the way, but
Right. And that's what I was just going to touch on. One cautionary tale for students and for parents. There's something called, and it sounds weird, but AI hallucinations. Sometimes AI will tell you things that it thinks it wants you to hear. So you have to have some sort of skepticism when it comes to what it's telling you. If you know it may not be right, or you want to dig deeper into that, you can ask it, and it'll be honest with you at that point and say, you know what? I was just telling you what I think you wanted to hear, and actually let's dig a little deeper into this. So it actually allows students to have some reasoning as well with this.
Yeah, like one thing I tell my kids is, don't ask it, is my idea a good idea? Because it'll say, oh, it's a great idea. But
It's
instead,
very supportive.
Right?
Yeah.
But instead, if you say, evaluate my idea, give me pros and cons, and give me alternate solutions. So a lot of it's the prompting. And so if you give it like a real generic prompt, it is programmed to please you. And so it'll sometimes fill in the gaps. And if you lead it like, leading questions, as they would say, you'll get a lot of confirmation bias coming back.
Well, and in the same way that it helps kids as a thought partner and giving them information and helping them clean up their writing, teachers can also use it, correct, to see how much they're using it. Aren't there programs that you can run the article or essay through to see how much?
Yeah, they're not reliable, though, and there's other apps that are already out there.
To outsmart
Stealth
it?
GPT, that will just outsmart it. And they only give you a percentage, so, you end up having a conversation with the kid at that point.
But you should still tell the kids that you can do it right.
Yeah,
that there's a secret teacher program.
But I think it's all about the relationship piece even more now, because I was talking to my kids the other day that I actually think that there will be a value to good writing in the future, because we can all tell when we've read something that's AI.
Absolutely.
And when you have that authentic voice in your writing, I think that will actually become more valuable, ironically, going forward, if you can learn to do it well, right? So that's that relationship piece with the kids that I'm trying to connect with them and kind of build that motivation going forward. But yeah, it is a concern. But then there's the audio stuff coming too. So imagine if a kid reads, I was supposed to read chapter 4 of the book or something. They come in, I say, put on the headset, you're gonna have a 5-minute interview with the AI, and it's gonna basically find out what you read and what you didn't read. But then it's going to be in my ear going, even the kids that read it missed this whole symbolism thing, and then I can immediately address that in the moment, rather than taking that quiz home at night, reading it, not addressing it for 2 weeks later. So it's going to really, I think, transform education in a positive way.
So if parents are watching this, or if anybody's out watching this, Jason, where can people go if they want to get more information about the task force, about what the Hart District is doing regarding AI? Where's a good place to go? How can you help them out with that?
So the Assistant Superintendent over Educational Services, Mr. Vince Ferry, he created this task force. He put us in charge of, with a lot of, like I said, smarter people than I on this task force with this. Your instructional coaches, your technological coordinators at your sites, even going to principals. We've been really pushing this with every site to make sure they're aware of what we're doing. Start with your principal. If your teacher is open to having these conversations as well, I'd encourage you to have that dialogue with your teachers. But at the end of the day, have that relationship with your son or daughter to make sure they are telling you what they're doing, what they're seeing, and how they're interacting with this new technology.
Awesome. Thank you so much, both of you, for being here and sharing all of this with us and with the parents and the students. It's so interesting to see how it's being used in schools.
Thank you.
Thank you again for having us.
Of course. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to SCVTV's Community Corner. The Los Angeles County Animal Care and Control, or DACC, promotes public safety and animal care through programs that include sheltering, pet placement, education, and animal law enforcement.
Through its nonprofit, the LA County Animal Care Foundation, the agency was able to safely transfer and evacuate hundreds of pets and animals during the recent wildfires.
Joining us today to tell us how the agency successfully evacuated hundreds of animals and to give you tips on how to keep your pets safe during emergency situations is Director of Los Angeles County Animal Care and Control, Marcia Maeda. Marcia, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Marcia, the recent evacuations were a massive effort. This was an unprecedented emergency, but the DACC did an incredible job rescuing and sheltering displaced animals. Can you walk us through the department's role in recent fires?
Sure. We were busy from the very beginning. We knew that there was a red flag warning, a particularly dangerous situation was declared, and we always prepare by making sure our trucks are fueled, our trailers are hooked up, and that all of our staff are on ready status. So first the Palisades fire started, and that affects unincorporated areas of Topanga and other unincorporated areas there. And then shortly after, the Eaton fire started, and that affected mostly Altadena, which is an unincorporated area. So we were very busy with both of those. We immediately opened our large animal shelter at Pierce College, and we were accepting animals at our Agora Animal Care Center. A lot of people had to evacuate and brought animals to us. Pierce College filled fairly quickly. Then we opened the Antelope Valley Fairgrounds, which is another large animal sheltering site. We also can take large animals at our Castaic Animal Care Center. So some people were bringing animals to Castaic. And then we just continued to work collaboratively with other organizations. We work closely with Pasadena Humane and the Altadena fire, and they were taking the animals into their shelter for the most part, but we were doing the field work out there, going into the evacuated areas and rescuing animals that we knew had been left behind. So we were doing that for them. And it was just really heartwarming to work with so many committed, dedicated, compassionate people who wanted to help us, help the animals.
Can you give us an idea of the magnitude, like how many animals were evacuated, how many volunteers, adoption partners, animal welfare agencies that all stepped in to help?
You know, it's a huge number, because I have to say, first of all, when the fires were going, we were getting calls from animal agencies up and down California, Arizona, other states saying, we will take your adoptable animals so we can take them out of your care centers so then you'll have room for the evacuated pets. And that was so important because we had to evacuate our Castaic Animal Care Center with the Hearst fire, which came along later. And we had about, I think, 42 dogs, a cat, some horses and pigs. And all the dogs and cats went to Lancaster, and we had a full kennel building that was empty because of all these other adoptions that had taken place in the couple weeks before that. So these animals had, you know, they were kept together. We had enough room for them. The large animals went to Pierce College, but you know, it was really seamless. And the support from everybody, the donors to our Animal Care Foundation were incredible. We have our Noah's Legacy Fund, Fund, which supports the department's animal rescue efforts. And this is going to be really important for the long haul because so many people have been displaced. And we've been able to reunite about 85% of the animals with their owners.
Wow.
But the other 15%, the owners don't have a place to take them. They've lost their homes or their barn burned down. So we're going to be caring for those animals for a while until they can get on their feet. And we're not charging for that. These people have suffered enough already. It's just important that their beloved animals are safe and being well cared for until they can be reunited. So yeah, all that, the animal shelters up and down the state that wanted to help us, donors. World Central Kitchen was bringing food to all of our staff and volunteers at all of the animal sheltering sites. We put in about 4,000 staff hours and 1,000 volunteer hours, and our volunteers are amazing. You know, they didn't just help at the animal shelters, they worked at Pierce College, and we have a really great team of dedicated volunteers for horse evacuations, or equine response team, and they know how to particularly care for horses. And horses, when they're evacuated, they can be very stressed out, they can colic, they can get injured, so it's really important that we have people trained to handle them.
And Marcia, real quick, if we could go back to the Noah's Legacy Care Foundation, can you provide some more details about what that operation looked like year-round or outside of normal emergency situations?
Thank you for asking. The Los Angeles County Animal Care Foundation supports so many community programs to keep pets and families together. They, if people are experiencing difficulty with either medical bill or training or housing or something like that, they can call us. We can provide advice. There are vouchers to assist with medical problems. There's low-cost spay-neuter options available. They pay for our Vet at the Park program, where we give free vaccines and free microchips and free pet food. But throughout the year, they really support the animals at the animal care centers. We have our Dreams Come True Fund, which pays for extra medical care. For example, if an animal's been hit by a car and they need an orthopedic surgery, although we have wonderful vets and very good surgeons at the animal care centers, they're often so busy working on the animals that we already have, doing spays and neuters and other treatments. And sometimes they don't have the specialized equipment for an advanced orthopedic surgery. So Dreams Come True pays up to $2,500 to a private veterinarian to perform that service. And that saves their lives, because otherwise these injuries are so bad they'd have to be put to sleep. But Dreams Come True saves that. They also have a Grooming Gives Hope program, which I think is wonderful. It's one of my favorites, because we get these animals in that are dogs, usually just horribly matted and very painful. And sometimes there's really serious underlying medical problems with them. And they're, of course, very unadoptable. I mean, they're stinky, and they don't feel good, so they're not really showing off their personality. Right. But with Grooming Gives Hope, the foundation pays for professional groomers, and right now we're working with a grooming school to train people to do this, where the dogs get their complete spa day, where they're groomed and they're bathed. Many times it's a shave down, but they feel so much better after it's happened. Their personality, it's like you wouldn't even believe it, and they're jumping around and dancing at the cage. Yeah. And somebody just spent 2 hours giving them TLC, plus they're not in pain anymore. Right. And sometimes we find underlying medical problems, so now we can get our veterinarians to treat that. So that's really important too. The foundation pays for our foster program, because we get these little kittens that come in without a mother and they can't survive on their own. Mm-hmm. So the foundation pays for milk replacement, bottles, heating pads, everything they need. And then volunteers, and we're always looking for more volunteers to do this. It's not a long-term commitment. It's just a few weeks, to raise up those kittens and then bring them back. And we can find homes for them once they're old enough, but they're too young at that point to be placed for adoption. And they have paid for things like our dog play yards, so the dogs can get out and play. And our behavior and enrichment team can work with them and get a good understanding of their personalities. So who can we best place this animal with? What's the best home for them? They've paid for special medicine when we've had disease outbreaks. They've paid for training for some staff. They help support our volunteer program. Wow. So they help in many, many different ways. They're wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah.
People in Santa Clarita just love their pets. I know I am one of them. I have 3 dogs that I've adopted. But these recent fires made me realize I don't know what I'm going to do with all 3 dogs should we have to evacuate. What advice do you have for people to prepare their pets for emergencies?
Right. Well, that's a great question. And the first answer is have a plan. So if you have a plan, you'll know what to do. So if you can't take them all with you, do you have friends or family or people that you could leave 1 or 2 with? Some don't get along with other animals or may have medical problems, something to plan for. Make sure every pet is microchipped and that you stay up to date on your microchip registration. A lot of times when people move, they don't update it because it's not at the front of their mind. It's invisible. So, you can see the tag, but they just don't think about their microchip. That needs to stay up to date. Have a go bag for your pet with at least 3 days worth of food, the list of medications they take, copies of their rabies certificate, their license, any other vaccinations they've had, or a list of their medications in case they have seizure medicine or heartworm or anything else. So, you'll remember, and if you need to go get refills, you know what it is that you need to ask for. So I think that's the most important things. Have a toy in there with them. They'll be stressed out. A toy, a little blanket, extra collar and leash to make sure that, they stay with you, or a carrier for the cat.
So the county and the foundation have had an incredibly busy January. But what has inspired you the most about seeing a community come together to keep all the animals who most consider family safe?
I think what's been so inspiring is just the public outpouring of love and support that they have shown every of our care centers. Just showing up, how can I help? How can I volunteer? What do you need from me? We had a lot of food donations at our Agora Care Center because that's where a lot of people were evacuated. We have a lot of evacuated pets there. People showing up to volunteer, we just said, why don't you help us organize this? Because it was just, a lot. And that way the people in need can come and they can find, oh, my kitten food is here, the cat litter is there, the dog bowls are over here. And it's just one less thing that they have to try to stress about and think about. So, everybody's just been so supportive, and it's just heartwarming to know that the community really gets behind us in situations like this.
So if people want to donate money or donate supplies, where can they go, or is there a website for them to take a look at?
There is. It's just lacountyanimal's.org. And you can donate online. We also ask that people consider the foundation in their will or any investment accounts or anything like that, even if they're not prepared to donate now in the future. In those last couple of years, we had some very generous bequests left to the foundation, and that allowed us to do these Pets Are Family programs and Grooming Gives Hope and fix up some of the play yards. So the money really goes to a long list of opportunities for the animals.
So Marcia, today you've shared some really great resources, but are there any other resources that you would like people to be aware of?
Sure. On Amazon, each of our animal care centers and our disaster response unit have wish lists. So if people would like to buy something for the animal shelters or our disaster response team, they can go to Amazon and do that.
Wow.
So, Marcia, I have something for you before you go. I don't know if you know, but in Santa Clarita, we have a mascot. This is Sammy Clarita, and he goes around and supports different campaigns. And what Sammy is really excited about right now is encouraging people to adopt pets.
Oh, thank you so much.
So this is Sammy, and in his book, he has a book, Sammy Stories. I have to show you this because one of the places he goes when looking for an animal is the Castaic Animal Care Center. So I want you to have that.
Thank you.
And then also, this is Biscuit. This is who Sammy ends up adopting. So now you have the book and the Sammy and the
thank
Biscuit.
you so much.
You're welcome. That's so much fun, and the kids love it. And it's a great way to talk about getting people excited about adopting animals.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Of course, and thank you so much for being here and sharing this important information.
It's my pleasure.
All right, stick with us. We'll be right back.
And that wraps up this mini rewind episode of SCVTV's Community Corner.
Thanks for joining us as we revisited a few stories from Season 6.
SCVTV's Community Corner will be back in February.
Until then, thanks for watching.
And we'll see you next time.